down that camera and strap in. It's time for a new episode of TogChat Live. Get ready for 60 minutes of wall-to-wall photography, including photo news, tips, and your photography questions in real time, with answers from your host, Olympus visionary Joe Edelman.
Finally. Did you ever have one of those nights where nothing was going right? Well, guess what, gang? That was tonight. I am so sorry. I don't know what the deal was. I ran a 2-hour test today. Everything worked great. Everything was showing good on my end. And sure enough, I could not get a stream out of YouTube tonight. And I'll be honest with you, it's giving me really bad numbers back. So, fingers crossed, gang. We're going to try and get through this. I've lost all my screens I had queued up for you guys, but I'm excited and I want to talk to you tonight. And I know that I've been teasing a big announcement and I want to make it happen. So, bear with me. It's going to be a little clumsy tonight, but hey, who cares, right? We're here to chat. It's Wednesday. It's TogChat. Thank you guys, all of you, for coming out and being patient and hanging in there. I've been watching all the comments go by in the chat and I can't believe it. I should not stream more often because I got more super chats while I wasn't streaming than I do when I am streaming. So seriously, guys, thank you all. I love you. Hey, so as always, do me a favor, number one, let your friends know we're here, we're live. So in case they left, tell them to come back. Twitter, Facebook, they're the best way to get the word out. You can hit that share button underneath the video. That'll also do it, okay? I got people here from all over the world. So please go ahead, take a second, check in. Let me know you're here. Let me know where you're from. It's always cool to see all the different locations and all the different people and folks that are here, okay? So I do have some really, really cool news, okay? And I'm not gonna lie, I'm really bummed because I had everything lined up here to show you, and now it's all gone because I've rebooted so doggone many times just to make sure that I was troubleshooting everything on my end. So we're gonna do this a little bit clumsy, but we're gonna make it work. So 2 weeks ago, and actually before we even start, and Sven, it's possible I'm having some issues with sound here. I'll be honest with you guys, unless you tell me you can't hear me, I'm running with it. We'll fix that kind of stuff another time. I'm still getting back numbers from YouTube that just are not great. I'm not really sure why it's doing what it's doing, but we'll see. Everything that I've got going on here is going out. So I'm going to try my darndest to get through this for you. If indeed it gets too bad, let me know, but we're gonna try and work with it here, okay? So a couple weeks ago, right before I came on the TogChat, I was kind of excited because I got a phone call. And it was a phone call that I was, fingers crossed, but wasn't sure if that phone call was going to happen or what the outcome would be. And I was told that I couldn't share that information yet, that I had to wait a little while. So first, I don't want to make this all about me because there's some really cool stuff to this, but I want to give you guys a little backstory as to why this announcement is actually a really big deal to me. Because, some people are going to have some different opinions of the value of this, right? It's YouTube, it's the internet. So when I was a teenager, 15 years old, I was a sophomore in high school, and I had a photography teacher. Well, I shouldn't say I had a photography teacher. She had just started in the job as the photography teacher at my high school. I didn't have her actually as a teacher, but she knew about me. I hung out a lot in the photo classroom and in the darkroom. She was young. She was only a couple years out of college. And Nikon at the time had started this program called the Nikon School of Photography. And they had these two photographers, and sadly, I don't remember their names, but they had these two photographers they sent all around the country teaching. And you could pay, I think back then it was like $75, which was a lot of money, back then, but still, you pay and you go and you spend a day, like they would do it at a hotel and they do it in a conference room, and you would spend a day learning from them. And, they were photographers. I remember one of the guys, I'm almost positive, worked for National Geographic. These guys had just amazing, incredible portfolios. And what was cool is, it wasn't like a workshop that was hands-on. So, you're sitting in this big conference room and they're showing lots of pictures and telling stories. But what I loved about it is a couple of things. Number one, they were amazing photographers. Number two, it was very motivational. As a 15-year-old, it kind of gave me the feeling of, if I work hard this is what I could do. I could be them. And they were amazing. They were incredible. And as a 15-year-old, I had dreams. At one point, I was hoping I could win a Pulitzer Prize as a newspaper photographer. And of course, I wanted to be the greatest photographer in the world. But I thought that what these guys did was amazing because they got to go places and take incredible pictures. So they were amazing photographers. But then they got to go around the country and they got to share it with other photographers. And it was always kind of a dream to one day be them, to be the guy that, you know, a company like that would send around to teach and to motivate. Well, you know, life takes you in a lot of different directions. And the reality behind that, while it's really cool, those guys had been shooting for many, many years. Those guys had worked their butts off. Those guys had really earned the status that they had achieved as incredible photographers. So, you know, over the years, I've had the opportunity to do lots of really cool and really different types of photography. I have been blessed to be able to spend my life making money with a camera involving photography. So you guys all know, since you've been following me, 2 years ago, I got this crazy idea that I was going to stop taking clients full-time. I kept a few of my, you know, clients that are kind of close that I've always worked with that I really like. And I wanted to teach and I wanted to travel and teach. So that's what I've been working on with my YouTube channel and doing my tutorials and traveling around the country and doing lectures, etc. Well, you folks also know that last November, I made the big switch from Nikon after 42 years, made that big switch to Olympus. And I got to tell you, it was probably the smartest thing that I have done in the last 40 some years of photography for a whole bunch of reasons. Some of them were reasons that had strictly to do with the gear, which I've talked to you about, all the things that I was able to accomplish by making that switch and the features that I got and the benefits that I got from that gear. And some of the things that happened were kind of unintended consequences, shall we say. Because of the work that I've done on YouTube and because of the work that I've done in teaching, I had the good fortune of being able to meet the people from Olympus and establish a relationship with them. And I will tell you sincerely, they've been amazing to work with. In fact, they've been much more welcoming and much more interested in me and what I do than that other camera company ever was. And over the years, I've met them too. So Olympus gave me the opportunity to go and speak for them in January at Imaging USA and then again in February at WPPI in Las Vegas. And since then, I've been to Fort Worth, Texas, and somewhere in the middle of all that, they asked me the question, would you be interested in being an Olympus visionary? And it was kind of this open-ended, shall we say, exploratory question. It wasn't an offer, it was a conversation. And they told me very honestly, you know, we're looking at making a lot of changes to our program, but we think that you would be a great fit. Well, that statement alone was like amazing. And then of course there was the hurry up and wait, right? I mean, Olympus is a big corporation and this was a big decision for them. They have 12 Olympus visionaries and they don't add a lot of visionaries like every year. It's not like they, you know, some of the companies where there's tons of them, okay? So during that time, during the last couple of months, I spent a lot of time kind of getting to know a lot of the visionaries, getting to know more people at Olympus, doing a lot of speaking. And so the short answer is they have made me an Olympus visionary. And I'm not going to lie, I'm like a kid in a candy shop because it's just cool. It is just really cool. But let me tell you why it's cool. So that 15-year-old kid that watched these guys travel and teach and share and motivate, that 15-year-old kid reached one of his goals. And anytime you reach a goal in life, it's a really cool thing. It's kind of a bummer it took me this long, but I'm glad I made it, right? And the other thing is, about 5 years ago, you know, I started teaching period, and that's when I kind of got into all of this. And I found out I'm kind of good at teaching. In fact, I'm probably actually a better teacher than I am a photographer. And I'm okay with that. I'm actually really proud of that. because I've got all this experience in photography. And while I'm not the greatest photographer in the world, and believe me, when I tell you who some of these visionaries are, you'll understand. Like, I just am in shock that I am carrying the same title as so many of this team of visionaries, because they are incredible photographers and incredible people. And I've had the opportunity to meet quite a few of them already. So what this does for you, and this is what I want to talk about, because that's it for me. Wait, there's one other thing. So, I got really excited. This whole idea of being a brand ambassador for, a camera company. Well, they sent me the contract, and of course they were very good about it. They told me, like, listen, take your time, read through this. This is very important. Just like any program you could imagine, there's some rules, there's some regulations, there's some do's, there's some don'ts. They're a big corporation, right? So you guys know I don't do slow very well. I'm a little type A. So I got to this whole thing, and it was like the first thing I read was this whole paragraph about brand ambassador. And, well, what I should have done is I should have taken my time, like they said, and read it a little closer and paid a little bit more attention, because I got the brand ambassador thing, but the problem was I got the brand ambassador thing kind of backwards in my head. And I really thought it said brand the ambassador, not brand ambassador. And look, when a company comes to you like that and says, hey, we would like to make you a visionary, one of our ambassadors, you don't question the rules, the regulations, so you just do it. So what I did before I read the contract properly, I got branded as an ambassador. So yes, gang, I did this for a couple of reasons. It is the Olympus logo. It is a real tattoo on my arm. Some of you are watching or thinking or going to check this out later and say, he's out of his freaking mind. And you know what? I am out of my mind, excited. It's really cool. But I'll tell you why I did it. Two reasons. The tattoos that I have, I didn't get my first tattoo until I was 56 years old, right? And the tattoos that I have, they mean something to me. They mean photography, my life, what I'm passionate about. Olympus to me is a group of people in a company that has recognized the value that I bring to the photography community, and more importantly, what I'm trying to accomplish. And they recognize the hard work that I'm putting in, and it's important to me. I love the cameras, and I didn't switch. Contrary to what people have suggested, I didn't switch to become a visionary. Olympus didn't hand me my cameras. I paid for my cameras. Olympus pays me to go out and speak for them. Yes, my words, my opinions, they are my own. But this was something that for me was important. It was special, and so we're losing the sound, guys. Are we really here? Let's try something here really quick. Bear with me. So you know what, guys? Let's try this sound. Tell me if that gets rid of the static for us, okay? Now it's clearing up. All right, good, Adam. So it's not going to sound quite as good. I'm on a computer mic right now, but give me a little bit of feedback. Let me know if that's doing okay. Better. Sweet. All right. So yeah, no, guys, the tattoo, it's very real, okay? I literally just got it yesterday, and part of the timing on was it. Good, sounds back. All right, sweet. I switched mics. I'm on the computer mic right now, so this thing's not doing anything. So we'll go with that. I'm gonna have to get that squared away. So anyway, yeah, I just did the tattoo yesterday because obviously if you've ever gotten tattoos, you know they go through a healing period and they don't particularly look that great. So I wanted to be able to at least show you guys the way that it looked. But hey, for me, you know, I love the Olympus brand. And actually more importantly, I shouldn't say more importantly, but almost as importantly, I've grown to love the people that are involved with it. And I don't just mean the people at the company. No, they've been great. And I don't just mean the other visionaries because they are awesome. But I mean the users. I'm not going to lie to you. The Olympus community has been very, very welcoming to me. They have been, you know, very open-minded. And it's just great. It's like the one thing I will say, and this is not taking a stab at full frame people or anything else, guys. This isn't about brands. This is just, I'm telling you my experience, right? One thing I found about Micro Four Thirds people, that they're not as defensive about their brands. You know, photography is fun, and that's the point. So, but listen, what I want to do, here's the thing that's kind of important, okay? I want to share with you guys a little bit about who these visionaries are, because honestly, that's what I find to be incredible and very special. So I'm going to switch the screen over here. I want to show you guys a little bit of, bear with me just one sec here, guys. I want to make sure that I can switch the screen over. I apologize. So again, when I had to reboot everything, so yep, there we go. Cool. So here's the page from the Olympus, the Get Olympus website with the Olympus Visionary. So I wanted to give you a little quick background, and I had this all queued up before because I wanted to show you some photos from them. But I will tell you this: in the description below this stream are the names and the links to all the Olympus Visionaries. Juan Lopez. So yes, I can definitely call myself a fanboy of Olympus, and I am. I sincerely am. Okay. But I wanted to introduce you guys just really quick to the group of 13. 12 of them are here. I haven't been added to the page yet. And there's one other new visionary that I'll tell you all about. She hasn't been added to the page yet either, but we will be soon, okay? But I know that a lot of you guys are into photographing things other than people. So I wanted to give you a little breakdown because you should follow these guys, okay? So their websites are all listed in the description below the video. So Peter Baumgarten, he's actually from Ontario, Canada. He's an outdoor photographer, and he's also an educator like me, which is really cool. Mike Baining, who is a guy that I've had the opportunity to have some discussions with. I haven't met him face-to-face yet, but I've been on his live stream, Mirrorless Minutes, that he does with Jamie McDonald. Mike is from Detroit, Michigan, and he is a street and urban photographer, for those of you that are into that. Mr. Scott Bourne. Mr. Scott Bourne, he is the bird man. He actually has a PhD in ornithology. He comes from Gig Harbor, Washington. If you're into photographs of birds, and especially eagles, bald eagles, this is the guy. Check out his work, okay? Jay Dickman, that you see here, Jay is both a nature and a travel photojournalist, and this is the big one, obviously he's an Olympus user, but he's also a Pulitzer Prize winner and National Geographic photographer. Yes, with Olympus gear. Incredible stuff, okay? Coming from Ohio, Laura Hicks. Laura's a portrait, a wedding, and she also specializes in doing macro photography. Really, really, really cool macro work. So check her out. And here's another one that I love talking about is Austin. Austin comes from Carbondale, Colorado. Austin is a filmmaker and a director of photography. And yes, he does stills, but he does video work. Some of the really cool video clips that you've seen on the Get Olympus website, he's the guy that shot them with Olympus gear. Jamie McDonald, another guy that I've gotten to know online. I haven't met him face-to-face yet, but Jamie is the other co-host of Mirrorless Minutes that I have had the opportunity to be a guest on. Jamie lives in Michigan also. He's a landscape nature photographer. Just this guy is a machine. He shoots like practically every day. Turns out really, really awesome stuff. And he's one of these guys that goes out and chases weather. Like just does the most amazing weather stuff. It's like totally, totally cool. So Shaz Mavs, that's a great question. What's the difference with an Olympus ambassador like Gavin Hoey? Actually, there's no difference. Gavin Hoey is an Olympus ambassador in the UK. So in the UK and Europe, they don't call them visionaries, they call them Olympus ambassadors. It's essentially the same thing. So as I'm telling you about the American visionaries here, yes, I get to essentially join the ranks of Gavin Hoey as an ambassador for Olympus here in the US. And yes, Gavin Hoey is a great guy. He really is. So next up on the list, Tracy McGlosky. Tracy, the ultimate sweetheart, also from Ohio. Tracy does portraits, does some wedding work. She also does newborns and that. Tracy has actually been an incredible supporter to me as I've been kind of working my way through navigating the Olympus system, getting to know the folks at Olympus. Tracy was a speaker both at Imaging USA and WPPI, where I had the opportunity to speak, so I got to know her and her husband Tony really well. She's been absolutely great to work with. Alex McClure comes from Tempe, Arizona, does landscape, commercial work. Again, especially his nature stuff, just off the charts. Really, really awesome. Larry Price is a guy that I haven't had a chance to talk to him since I've become a visionary, and he probably doesn't remember me. But back in our younger days, I knew him because he worked for the Philadelphia Inquirer, which was the big paper near where I was growing up. And Larry, Olympus shooter, is a two-time Pulitzer Prize winning photographer. Kind of speaks for itself there, right? And still very much a working photojournalist. The last two guys on the list here are both from kind of my backyard. John Sterling Ruth is from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. He's a commercial photographer. He does a lot of the actual advertising images for Olympus that you see in their ads, that you see on the Get Olympus website. And Frank Smith, awesome guy, also a photo educator. He does travel, landscape, architectural work, a lot of speaking engagements. In fact, I'm going to be speaking with Frank at an event in Newark, Delaware in November. It's called the Horizon Photography Summit. Just, again, really, really awesome work. These are all people that I tell you sincerely, I admire for the quality of their imagery. I admire for the quality of their work. Just incredible. And one other photographer, and you're going to have to bear with me a second here because since I lost my tabs, I need to Google her website, and I'm going to bring it up for you because I want you to see some of her work, right? So her name is Kelly Cox, and Kelly is going to be the newest member of the visionary team along with me. So they've added 2 visionaries to the group. So there are going to be 14 of us. And as soon as I get her website up here, I want to show you because Kelly has an awesome, awesome resume. So here is Kelly's website. I'm going to let these images kind of cycle through. Kelly's based out in San Francisco, and she is a contract photographer for USA Today's Sports Images. And as you can see, she shoots some incredible sports work. She's covered the Super Bowl, NBA Finals, the World Series, amongst tons of other major professional and college sporting events. She also is the founder and the managing director of KLC Photos, which serves as the official photography group for USA Rugby and Cal Athletics, in addition to doing contract work for lots of colleges, etc. And yes, all these incredible sports images that you are seeing are shot with Olympus gear, gang. So anyway, what does all of this do for you? Right? Because I am here. The fact that you guys watch me, the fact that you follow me, all of this, I am here for you. Because without you, I am of no value. So this is really cool. And I've seen all the congratulations go by, and I thank you sincerely. Like, I love you guys, and I appreciate the support. But what this does for me, this gives me the ability to do more for you. So number one, I get to travel more, right? I'm going to be traveling around the country to do presentations at various events like, Photo Plus. I'll be speaking for Olympus at Photo Plus in New York in October. I told you I'm going to be at the Horizon Photography Summit in Delaware. In November, I'm going to be down in Florida, both in Miami and Sarasota at the end of September. I've got stuff coming up also in St. Louis, also in Austin, Texas. And so, number one, it gives me the ability to be able to come out and meet you folks, teach in person. It also gives me access. And this is something I've talked to you about before with some of the other companies that I have done sponsorships with. It gives me access to the companies. It gives me access to their knowledge. It gives me access to their network so that I'm able to provide a lot more information for you and a lot more learning opportunities. So that being said, the last month and a half, I've been pretty quiet on YouTube. We've been keeping up with the TogChats. There haven't been a lot of tutorials, and I know you guys are chomping at the bit for those modifier tutorials. They're coming. Everything's shot. It's being edited now. It's getting put together. What I've been doing, not going to make an excuse, but I'll tell you what I've been doing. I had to kind of put that process on hold because one of the things that Olympus asked me to do that I think is really, really cool is they asked me if I would be willing to put together a photo album, like printed at Miller's, right? The big photo album. that they could print several versions of it and hand them out to their tech reps. The tech reps are the guys that go around the country to the various camera stores and the photo retailers and who also do the events. One of the things that Olympus does a lot, and don't get me wrong, the other camera companies do this too, but I don't know how much they do it. I can tell you that Olympus does it a lot, where they do camera store events, they do drink and click events, they do events where you can come out and you get the opportunity to try out the cameras. Like, not hold it and look at it, actually put a disc in it, go use it. They'll have models or they'll have classes or demonstrations set up where you can actually try out the camera. Sometimes it's photo walks, you name it. It's a whole bunch of opportunities like that, right? So I am going to have the ability to, put together this book that they're going to kind of, I don't want to say mass produce, but there'll be multiple copies of it that are going to go out to the tech reps for them to be able to show people, hey, this is what you can really do with Olympus cameras. They've done this with a couple of the other visionaries, and I've seen one of them, and they're gorgeous books that they're putting together. So the challenge that I had is I was still kind of really, reworking my portfolio. So I needed to kind of put my head down and get a whole bunch of shooting in so that I was able to, have a decent selection of images. So that's done. It's off to the, the printers to be, taken care of. I will share some examples of kind of the design and the layout that I did for it with you guys down the road. But now I can get back into getting the videos out. My channel, still going to be the same game. Yeah, I'm going to keep talking about Olympus along the way, but only in the same context that I have. It's the gear that I use. I will certainly answer, questions about it along the way, but I'm not going to try and make anybody drop their camera band. And like always, we joke about Sony or we joke about this, we joke about that. You guys know I'm not about the gear. It's about making great pictures. So my gear of choice is Olympus. If you're a Sony user, that's awesome. I hope you'll still follow me. If you're a Nikon user, that's awesome. I hope you'll still follow me. And I hope we can laugh and we can have fun about our brands and all that kind of stuff along the way, right? Because otherwise, what's the point? Okay? So, listen, enough about me, and we got started late. I don't even know what time I actually started. You know what? And it doesn't matter. If you guys got questions, Andre, thank you so much for the super chat. I can't believe you guys sent me all these super chats tonight when I wasn't even on here. Thank you so much. But listen, what I do want to do is I want to get to the questions. So I had a bunch of questions come in before we started tonight. So, of course, they're not on my screen anymore. So bear with me just 1 second here, and I'm going to get those up on the screen, and we'll get through those because there were some really, really good ones. And I'll tell you what, you guys are great when you come up with some of these like high-end questions here that are really good discussion topics. So let me get those on the screen, and cool. So here's this, and then I can also start to pay a little bit more attention to the comment feed here. So if you've got questions, by all means, make sure that you put them in there. So. And good, Adam, you'll make it to St. Louis. That's awesome. I'll look forward to seeing you there. Andy, there will be more information on the Austin visit. What you guys want to do, in fact, here, I can put this up on the screen, and I'll show you how you can subscribe to it. On my website, I have a calendar, like the places that I'll be visiting, etc. And I update it routinely. So let me get that on the screen here so you can see it. When you go to my website, just click on the Lectures and Workshops tab up at the top. And what's going to load here, give me just a second, and I'll put the link in the chat window for you guys. There we go. Okay, so there's the link for that. If you come to this page, and take a second and do it now if you want, scroll down to the bottom, you're going to see this red button, subscribe to this calendar. That way, if you subscribe to that, every time something new gets added, you'll get a notice about it. And what I do is I'll put stuff in here as soon as I get booked. Like, for instance, I'm going to be doing the Precision Camera Holiday Expo in Austin, Texas. I don't know the exact details yet of what I'm going to be teaching and the times, so that's why you see, information coming, okay? But at least I will be there those dates, and then as soon as I have the details, I will fill them in. And I put everything in here from the big events like Photo Plus all the way down to Camera Club talks and that type of stuff. So all that information is in there. But by all means, subscribe to the calendar. That way you'll get updates every time something's added, or, bookmark that page, come back, check from time to time. And that's the best way to find out where I'm going to be and what I'm going to be doing. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and let's answer some questions here. Again, had some really good ones that came in. So I want to make sure that I get all this stuff for you guys. All right. So I had a question from Andrew. So and there's two questions here that kind of come in simultaneously that have a very similar theme. Andrew put this question a little bit earlier in my Facebook group, and this is one that I see more and more people talking about lately, especially in the photo blogs. Like, you know, when you follow like Petapixel and F-stoppers and those, there's been a lot more articles about this thought process. And it is, he says, can you talk about how gear is becoming less and less important? Knowledge is far more critical, which, you know, I would kind of agree, okay? And then there was another similar question. Let me see if I have that here or not. Gosh, I hope I do. Well, okay, Adam asked a question, which was actually about the attachable lenses for smartphones, but he goes on to ask this. So I want to kind of take both of these questions together. He asked me, what do you think of the smartphone attachable lenses? But more importantly, what do you think about using them for portrait sessions, even like a paid portrait session? So this is a smartphone with a lens attachment. And he goes on to say, he wonders if people would take you seriously or turn around and go somewhere else. And then he says, well, the camera is just a tool, right? What's important is how you use it. Isn't it? So two questions, same concept. I've been seeing a lot more stuff about it lately. And what a great night for me to answer this after just saying, hey, I got sponsored by a camera company. So here's the thing. Let's take Andrew's version. Gear is becoming less and less important. Knowledge is far more critical. So Andrew, I don't want to break it down. The statement that gear is becoming less and less important. And I completely disagree. But bear with me. Let me explain, because I think you and I are actually on the same page, Andrew. Knowledge is far more critical. Oh my God, yes. So I don't want to put words in Andrew's mouth, but I'm going to reinterpret his question a little bit. For the last, I don't know, let's say 3 years or so, maybe 5 years even, with the rise of Sony and the fact that, and I'm not blaming Sony, bear with me, but the fact that a lot of different photographers, regardless of brand, have kind of dug their heels in with the idea of, you know, my brand's better stuff, right? And it was all about like, let's get the best gear. Let's chase the pixels. Let's get, you know, bigger sensor sizes. Let's get more dynamic range. Let's get all of these features. And we get to a point, gang, where let's face it, we've got more camera, we've got more resolution, we've got more pixels, we've got more dynamic range than we can actually appreciate. So in that sense, if I interpret Andrew's question that way, yes, gear is becoming less and less important because we got to the point that most cameras on the market today are pretty doggone good. Now, if you've got a specific use or a specific need, certainly maybe one camera or one brand is not ideal for you because of your need. But in terms of, is there a brand that doesn't take good pictures? No, come on, they all take great pictures, right? So it is indeed important, and you guys have heard me talk about this, you know, routinely. It doesn't matter what gear you have. If you don't know how to use it, if you don't learn the foundation, the basics, well, then you're just not going to take consistently good photographs. That's why you hear me talk all the time about, you know, practice and practice and practice. You got to shoot. You can't be a photographer watching YouTube videos, right? That's a resource. That's a learning resource, but then you've got to go out and do it. And the only way you really learn it is to reinforce what you've learned, you know, in the videos. So if we're framing it that way, Andrew, which I think is what your intent is, then, man, I am with you like 100%. Now, let's take that a step further, and let's go to Adam's question, because I have indeed seen articles recently about photographers who are doing commissioned work. That means people are paying them to do a session, right? They're doing commissioned work with iPhones and making crazy amounts of money. So the idea is, you know, will people take you seriously if you show up with an iPhone to do a portrait session? They will take you seriously if you have got a portfolio, a body of work that says, wow, right? I mean, a lot of people, when I made the switch to Olympus, a lot of people brought up the question, it's like, well, but those cameras are so small. Will your literally people ask me, will your clients actually take you seriously if you walk in with a camera that small? Well, first of all, gang, like I told you, I stopped taking new clients. I still have some of my regular clients. I have yet to have a client or a person for that matter, even like if I go out to an event with a camera, I've yet to have somebody walk up to me and look at that camera and say, oh, you must be an amateur. I have not had that happen. So, yes, to pick up an iPhone and say, okay, I'm here to do your portrait. Ready, smile. That's going to make a lot of people raise an eyebrow. So if you are unknown and you're just starting out and you're deciding, hey, this is my tool of choice, and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start charging, $500 or $1,000 for a portrait session, and you show up with this, but you don't have images to show what you are able to do with this, well, that's going to be a tough sell, right? And then no, people are not going to take you seriously. So understand, most clients do not care about the camera that you're using, period. So yes, the camera's just a tool. Yes, at the end of the day, it's what you produce. But I do think there's a little bit of a line that you're crossing if when you're just starting out, you're thinking, okay, I'm going to go charge top dollar for a portrait session with this. Unless you've got a body of work that clearly demonstrates you can do amazing things with this, right? So I don't think that it's impossible, Adam, but I think you've got to have something that shows people, hey, this is justifiable. Like I can, I'm going to give you something that's amazing. It doesn't matter that it's an iPhone. But indeed, I think it's fair to say, and I've said this before, I think it's fair to say that as an industry, we do spend a little too much time worrying, debating, justifying my gear's the best, my gear's the worst, whatever. But in all fairness, think about why, right? I have a lot of money invested in Olympus gear. So I'd be pretty upset if it was junk, right? People that buy Sony, sorry guys, but Sony cameras are expensive, right? So you can buy 1 or 2 bodies and a couple lenses. You got a lot of money invested. Now, if you're independently wealthy or you're rich, well, then okay, maybe it's not a lot of money to you. But by most people's standards, that's a lot of money. Who wants to think that they made the wrong decision, right? Nobody does. So, I think that really what it comes down to is, it would be in a perfect world, we do a lot less talking about gear and a lot more talking about making good pictures. But gear is important, and that importance is never going to go away. It's just like a carpenter. You got to have the right tools for the job, right? So I don't think it's necessarily about having the best gear. I think it's about having the best gear for the work that you're going to do. That's really where the key comes in, okay? I sincerely, and again, this is coming from an Olympus brand ambassador, I don't think that there will ever be a camera brand or a camera model that we can say, this is the best camera ever. I don't think that's actually, that would be like saying, insert name of car here and model number is the best car ever. You know as well as I do, the minute you make a statement like that in a group of car people, you're going to have like an all-out war over, no, it's this brand or this model or this year, right? So people are passionate about their choices there. So you're never going to have that label of, hey, this is the best. It's always about what's the best for you, period. And like you guys have heard me talk about, having that choice is actually very good and it's very healthy. The competition is good and it's healthy. Whether you like Sony or hate Sony, Sony's good for the industry. Sony has been a disturber in the industry. And that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing, okay? Or I shouldn't say disturber. Disruptor is the big marketing term that gets used all the time now. Even with Nikon, I'm not, me personally, I'm not holding out a whole lot of hope on the Nikon mirrorless camera. Believe me, I have no concerns. Am I going to regret switching or that? I really, really don't. And those concerns have been confirmed by what we're seeing about this camera already. Now, does that mean I'm saying it's junk or it's going to be horrible? No. Well, first of all, how could I say that? I haven't actually seen images from it or seen it used, but I know already in terms of its size, in terms of some of the features that are built into it that we've seen confirmed, it's not right for me. And that's okay. But I certainly wouldn't want to see Nikon fail. I wouldn't want to see, I wouldn't want to see Canon fail. I don't want to see any of them fail because that's ultimately really, really bad for the industry. So yeah, Andrew, I'm with you on the sentiment. It'd be great if we could get past the gear stuff and actually really just focus on photography, because the great part about all of this gear that we have, including these things, right? The great part about it is photography is more accessible now than it's ever been. You know, George Eastman brought photography to the masses with the Kodak Brownie camera, and that was momentous. That was really a turning point that made photography accessible to people. Well, that was minuscule by comparison to what we have available to us now. I mean, essentially, by definition, pretty much everyone is a photographer. If you've got a cell phone, you're a photographer. And that's a great thing. That's such a cool thing. But we're humans, and we like to be competitive, and we're also a little bit insecure because we want to know we made the right decisions. So we debate. So anyway, two other questions that have to do with working with children or younger siblings here about photography. So you guys know that's always important to me. So Steve Wilking asked a question earlier. He recently enjoyed taking photos with his 11-year-old future stepson. Good for you, man. I got my first camera when I was 11 years old. Awesome time to start. He took a photo that Steve really admires, and whoops, sorry, I just lost my screen there. He told him how much that he really liked the picture. His question to me is, how does he basically encourage the child's interest in photography and keep him interested in it without, of course, pushing him too fast, too far, etc.? And Steve, that's a great question. So I was really lucky in the sense that photography for me at 11 years old, it was like my thing. So nobody had to push me in that sense. I think, Steve, if I were to give you the best advice I can give you is, and actually I will take this advice based on the way my father behaved with me, because my father was a man who worked in a factory. He worked 2 jobs most of his life that I knew of his life. He was a very hardworking man. He was the kind of person that would give you the shirt off of his back, and he knew nothing about photography. He understood none of it. And he never really tried to understand the photography, but what he did try to understand is the potential. He tried to understand my passion, and he was excellent at kind of opening doors. My father really taught me the value of networking, but not networking like we do it today. The value of networking in terms of pay it forward, give it back, actually give a damn about people, really. So what my father did for me is he found ways to help me have opportunity, but I had to do the work. So this was a couple years after 11 years old, Steve, but when I was 15, I had proven I was really serious about photography. My father could not afford to go and buy me all kinds of camera equipment. My parents couldn't afford that. So my father happened to know the man who owned the industrial park where the factory was that he worked in. And he went and talked to him, and this guy was willing to allow my father to take on the responsibility as a part-time job, basically, of cutting the grass for this small industrial park. This was an industrial park with, I think it was about 10 or 11 factories, if I remember correctly. And so what my father did, against my mother's wishes, well, basically she didn't know. She found out later, and she was furious. He went to the bank, and he took out a loan so that he could buy a riding mower. And the deal was, I had to cut the grass. So I would go after school in the spring and the fall, and then during the summer, I would go to work with him in the morning, and I would spend the whole day cutting grass. When the money came in at the end of the month, because the gentleman that owned the park, he paid us once a month for all the landscaping work, I got to keep that money with the exception of the loan payment for the lawnmower. So I had to, basically, I bought the lawnmower. What that allowed me to do is get camera gear. So also when I was 15, my father had gone to high school with a gentleman who was a photographer at the Philadelphia Inquirer. And it just so happened that guy was about to retire from the newspaper business. So he was selling all of his Nikon gear. So my father had reached out to him just looking for some advice, and he mentioned that he was retiring. So my father jumped on that possibility about, well, what are you going to do with your gear? And he said, well, I'm going to sell it. I don't need it. So I was able to buy a full kit of Nikon gear, motor drives and everything when I was 15 years old. So at 15, I had more camera gear than a lot of professionals had. It was all used, beat the crap. This was newspaper photographers, so this stuff was really warm, but it all worked great, and it was awesome, and I paid for it myself. So Steve, I think, my advice based on that experience that I had is try to provide him opportunity. And he's either going to take it or he's not going to take it, right? I mean, that's really the key. If you try to push it on him, then yes, you're going to discourage him completely. If the opportunity is there and you're encouraging him by rewarding him with more opportunity, then, I think that's the best, honestly, the best thing that you can do. Because I'll admit, I am old school based on my experiences. I think there is a lot of value to a child having to demonstrate some passion and work ethic, especially if you're going. And it's not a problem if you're going to buy them a camera or hand them a camera or get them a lens. I'm not opposed to that at all. But I do think that if you just do that willingly because you can, I don't think you're actually encouraging a work ethic and a sense of responsibility, etc. So, for me, that would be the key there. And actually, Ajax has a good point here, I see, because the second question that kind of goes along with this is from Ajax. But he points out here, printing some of their photos and displaying them is good encouragement too. And absolutely, I mean, the idea of, having his photographs on the wall in a place of prominence, yeah, I mean, what kid's not going to think that's really cool? The mom and dad got the picture printed and framed. So yeah, I mean, that's another way. It's kind of a very subtle way, to reward them and actually kind of encourage them, okay? So along those same lines, gang, Ajax asked a question here. And Ajax, thanks for that tip, because that's a great tip. It really is. Ajax, his son is 21 years old, and he is away from home. He's enlisted in the Air Force. So two things. Number one, Ajax, I'm seriously jealous, dude, because I've met you, and you don't look like you could have a 21-year-old son. And number two, for all of us, please thank your son for his service, okay? But he's been inspired to pick up photography because, Ajax has been doing it and having a lot of fun with it. So he's interested in portraits and landscapes, his son, and he has asked Dad which camera would he recommend. So Ajax goes on to explain he shoots with a Nikon D850, but he's been seeing lots of good photography being shot with an Olympus, which of course is half the price of the D850. Well, Ajax, it's a darn good thing. You said you've been seeing a lot of good photography shot with Olympus because you've been seeing my photography, right? Just saying. Okay, no, I'm kidding. So anyway, he goes on to say he knows that the EM1 Mark II, the camera that I use, that's this baby right here, okay? That's obviously the flagship camera for Olympus, but he asked the question, how does the EM10 Mark II hold up by comparison? What he's thinking of doing is recommending that his son starts with a camera like that, and obviously with good Olympus glass, which all the Olympus glass is good, but certainly, you've got the various layers. There's the pro lenses, the premium lenses, and then just the basic M Suicos, which all the Olympus glass, especially compared to the Nikon glass, also very reasonably priced. And then later he can upgrade the body if he, chooses to pursue it, etc. So Ajax, I personally have not used the EM10 Mark II. I can tell you personally that I have seen tons of images generated with that camera. I know quite a few photographers that I have met personally as a result of the teaching that I've been doing, but I've also communicated with them a lot through a lot of the Facebook groups for Micro Four Thirds. They love the camera. So, I certainly would suggest it would be a really bad choice. And this is not a brand thing, guys. This is really just about features and cost. I would suggest that it would be a bad choice to have your son start out with something like a D850. Ridiculously expensive camera, lots of cost to the glass. It's big, it's bulky, and he's interested. But if he's not sold and passionate, well then, hey, that's a lot of money, right? It's just a lot of money. So I would say definitely doing something like the EM10 to begin with, excellent idea. I will also suggest to you what you might want to do, Ajax, is take a look at the GetOlympus.com website. Olympus does run really nice sales on the gear, which when they have gear on sale, you can get images, or you can get the sale price pretty much anywhere. In other words, all the retailers will have the sale. The Get Olympus website has the sale. But I think I mentioned this last week, so I'll give you guys a little tip. For those of you that are interested in Olympus, if you purchase it direct from Olympus, in other words, on the GetOlympus.com website, Olympus has a rewards points program that is actually a really, really awesome program. When I bought into the system with all the gear that I bought, because I bought a lot of gear, I had enough reward points. I was able to pick up a couple of smaller lenses without paying any cash for them, okay? Because I was able to get them with the rewards points. So that's a pretty sweet deal, just is. So just saying something, something for you to consider there. But Ajax, I think you're definitely, you're definitely thinking the right idea. Start out with a smaller, easier camera to use. Later, all those things are going to encourage him to pick it up more, use it more often. It's a system that he can grow with. And believe me, Ajax, the other thing I will point out, I mentioned that list of visionaries. Go take a look at their websites, because you're going to see, a lot of landscape people and portrait people, but you've already seen my portraits, right? So you're going to see a lot of landscape people that are doing some just amazing photography, and they're doing it with the Olympus system. And you'll notice they're not all using the EM1 Mark II. I mean, a lot of these Olympus visionaries have been Olympus shooters since the beginning, right? So there's images that are in their profiles that are older images that are taken with the smaller cameras, and they're incredible, because just like the conversation we had in the beginning, it's not all about the gear. It's about knowing how to use the gear. So Jason here just mentioned he got a secondhand EM5 Mark I for $400 with lenses. So yeah, I mean that's a great deal, Jason. Good for you. So so Ajax, that's my recommendation there. Okay. Amin has a question here. He can't find seamless paper backgrounds. Now I went to check to see where he's from. He's from Algiers, right? So it's a little bit different than, if you're here in the U.S. He's seen the video that I've done and seen what I've done with the velour, but the problem he has is he's found the velour, but it's not wide enough. He needs 2.5 meters, which is kind of up there, on the 9-foot size, or almost the 9-foot size that we use here. And he's asking, are there any other DIY solutions for that? Well, I don't know so much about DIY. The only DIY solution that I could recommend, and given that you're in Algiers, I don't know how well that's going to work out. There are companies that provide the material that you see, like if you go to the theater and you see those big, huge scrims of material that cover the entire stage. Sometimes they like backlight them and that kind of stuff. They make those huge pieces of material with no seams. The challenge is, for the most part, that material is just white. That's it. There's really not a lot of color or things to it. One of the things that you might want to consider, that you can get almost anywhere in the world because you order them from China. One of the things that's very popular in China right now are printed backgrounds, and they literally print them on demand. So if you Google, the first one that comes to mind, and there's a bunch of them, okay? So Google printed backgrounds. But if you Google the company Kate's Backdrops, K-A-T-E-S, Kate's Backdrops, I will try and find the link for you guys, and I'll put it in the description below the video when I'm done. Kate's Backdrops, they have a lot of backdrops that you can get very inexpensively. They're very big, they don't have seams, and they don't crease when they fold, like the velour. Okay, so now a lot of theirs are printed with like pictures and designs and all that kind of stuff, but they also have some very, very simple ones that you could use if you're looking for more of a simple, subtle kind of background. So I think that's that's what I would suggest. But unfortunately, in different parts of the world, some of these different gadgets and accessories they're really tough to access. I'm sorry. Okay. Troy Hall, what's the advantage of a ball head versus a standard video head on a tripod? Well, so I'm going to hook on one word here that you use, Troy, and answer the question that way first, but then I'll answer it the way that I think you really want me to answer it. You mentioned a ball head versus a video head. So the whole idea with a video head is that they're fluid, meaning they're not going to jerk really easy. So you can, like if you're going to pan or if you're going up and down, you can get a nice smooth image because you don't want jerky movements, right? With a ball head, the camera, rotates really loose and really easy. So with a ball head, you're at the mercy of your own hands, and so it's not going to be the best of movements. Now, that being said, obviously I answered it the way you typed it for video. Let's assume that you're talking just about stills. What's the advantage of a ball head versus a video head on a tripod? I'm going to be completely honest with you. You guys know that I use the Acratech ball heads, which I really, really like. But in my opinion, It's not about an advantage. For most of my career, as I explained in that video, I actually used cheap junk tripods, which I would not encourage you to do. Tripods are one of those things, they're not cheap. A good ball head, not cheap. It is worth spending the money and get one that's going to last you forever and that is good quality. But I honestly, in my opinion, the difference is, what is your preference? I always had the mindset that I was doing better with having a standard one with the two handles, one for vertical or one for up and down, one for, horizontal and vertical. I was in the mindset that I was doing better there because I had more control and it was more deliberate. That was my mindset for years until I finally tried a ball head. Seriously, tried a ball head. And then I realized, actually, ball heads are so much faster. They allow me a lot more versatility and angles and tilts and all that kind of stuff. Yes, you have to pay a little bit more attention with the ball head, right? Because you loosen the ball head, the camera just goes, it flops if you're not holding the camera. So it is kind of important that you really get to know kind of a physical system with your ball head so you're not loosening the wrong knob and, the camera just falls over. That's not a good plan, right? So it takes a little bit of getting used to if you've been using a standard, two-handle tripod head for a long, long time. But honestly, I'm not going to tell you the ball heads are better. I'm going to tell you that it really comes down to a matter of how do you like to work and what are you shooting. So I will say, like, if you want to do like stitched images where you're shooting, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're going to stitch them, or even where you're doing multiples where you're shooting like 2 rows of 3 and you're going to put them all together, that's where the ball heads with the panoramic settings come in really, really, really handy. Really handy, okay? So just like with the camera, I'm not going to say it's better. It's, does it have the features? Will it do the things that you want to do? Then it's the best one. But beyond that, honestly, I'm of the feeling that it's strictly a matter of preference. It's a matter of, what do you tend to like in terms of your working methodology, okay? So let's see, Dan had a question here. Love to take your mind off the world by taking creative photos of your watches. It's funny. I've talked to a couple people lately that have like a watch thing, collect watches, all that kind of stuff. I just was never into watches like that. But I mean, it's cool. Don't be wrong. I'm not making fun of it. It's just, it's one of those things when I hear about, people like really been into watches. I'm really, okay, cool. But, it's like it's a precision piece of equipment. So I get it. It's. So his question is, have I ever delved into that realm of photography? And then he goes on to say, by the way, he's loving his EM1 Mark II. So first of all, Dan, congrats on the EM1 Mark II. It is a sweet camera. As far as the watches, I have not done watches per se as a genre. I think once in my life, I actually had a reason to photograph a watch for a client. It was some kind of like if I remember, it's like an antique watch of some type. And of course, it was one of those nightmare type, setups because it's all glass and, reflective metal. So yeah, Dan, they're more expensive than cameras. You're right. I mean, the high-end ones, I'm with you there, man. So I don't want to say that I had a lot of experience. I would basically tell you that, photographing watches, it falls right into the same category / genre of doing like glassware, wine bottles, glasses, that kind of stuff. I did have a client that I did work for a bunch of years back in the 80s that made meters and pumps and valves that were all glass covered. Back when in the hospital you used to go and they would have like the oxygen tanks and there'd be like a valve on the top with a little meter type thing. And it was all like stainless steel aluminum, but had glass front to it. I did lots of photography of that kind of stuff. And I did it on 4x5 sheet film. So yes, this was, it's kind of like that. Yes, when I had to walk uphill to school both ways, like it was a nightmare doing that stuff because, you're basically doing it on one sheet of film and there's no Photoshop. You're not doing it in multiple exposures. So you've got to light this thing and you can't have hot spots. It was a nightmare. But what I will say, if you're finding it to be one of those things where it's actually kind of relaxing by, just being able to take on the challenge, then go for it, man, because I think that's one of the biggest ways that you can really kind of keep yourself motivated as a photographer is by finding something that challenges you, but that you enjoy. So I would tell you, yeah, absolutely, go for that. So, Dion, you just went through my playlist of website reviews and found them incredibly helpful. Is there any chance you bring it back via a segment to your weekly TogChat? So actually, last week, I mentioned that I will gladly go ahead and do some website reviews. What I need you guys to do, if you have a website that you want reviewed, okay, contact me via email on my website, joe@joeedelman.com. You just go to the website, hit the contact form. Send me some information about what you're trying to do as a photographer with your business, and obviously the links to your website and your social media. Here's the criteria. It's real simple, right? Unfortunately, people just weren't turning up to watch those website reviews, and I get it. If people are really serious about getting into business, they found it very helpful and really liked it. But unfortunately, most of the folks that are watching this stuff on YouTube aren't actually trying to get into business. So if you send me a website, and if there's something that I think that I can use as a valuable lesson, in other words, if doing a review of your website is actually going to allow me to teach some really, really good lessons, I absolutely will start doing some website reviews, in with these TogChats. I'm not going to do them as a separate TogChat, but I will mix some website reviews into these. I would love to. I just don't know that, unfortunately, there's enough of an audience for that. But yes, if it's a website where I feel like I can really actually teach some good lessons around it, hands down, I will totally do it. So go ahead and email that to me, and I will take it from there. Okay. Let's see here. Peter Kent recently bought a Panasonic Galaxy 100 for $400 and love it. 12 megapixels, but uses the same 16 megapixel sensor from the GH4 with the built-in. Yeah, I mean, if you're having fun with it, Peter, that's honestly, it's the most important thing. Yeah, it really is. People ask me all the time about the Panasonic stuff because Panasonic is what led me to Olympus. So, for me, Panasonic was kind of the door opener to Micro Four Thirds world. And I loved their video stuff. It was great. The cameras performed really well for me. I had no beefs with them. My only beef for stills, right? For stills, I just was not fond of the ergonomics. And the more I started researching, the more everything kept pushing me to Olympus, not only in terms of the ergonomics, which is important to me, but in terms of image quality, especially for stills, the ability to still do great video. Believe me, Olympus is not lacking in video. I will acknowledge Panasonic has some great video-centric features. Sure, they do, okay? But I'll tell you what, the last few videos of mine that you've seen, you are seeing them shot on Olympus. You are watching me on an Olympus camera right now. Olympus does just fine. If Panasonic does it, Olympus does it. So, it comes down to, hey, is it doing what you need it to do and meeting your needs? Go for it. So, again, like I said, earlier, all these brands are putting out great cameras. It's really, which one is going to do the things that, you want to do. So, let's see. I just want to make sure. Look at that. And I missed it earlier. Hi, Joe Pop. My grandson is watching. There you go. So, hey, Joe Bub, if you're still there, I'm sorry that I missed your message, but I hope you see me. Okay. All right. Let's see. I got another one here. So here we go. Here we got a marketing question from Jean Edward. So, and by the way, Ian, congrats on the Olympus Visionary all the way from New Zealand. Thank you. I really appreciate it, guys. I'm excited. A lot of cool stuff coming down the pipe now. Okay. Jean Edward's question. He had to get his Instagram game going. He is truly lagging. He currently has an account with about 400 followers. But it's all landscape and still life photography from a long time ago that does not represent what he does now as a business, which is people and portraits and things like that. He wants to know, would I suggest it's better to start a new Instagram account or build on the one that he currently has? So, Sean Edward, I think you start on the one you have. So I'll give you a little history of my Instagram account because you guys, I've mentioned this before. Instagram for me, I'm not proud of this, was kind of my Achilles heel in the social media world. I built up this great YouTube following. I've got a great following on Facebook. My website gets tons of traffic, and I don't know why. It's it was like a dumb mental block. I just never got my head wrapped around Instagram in terms of making it work for me in the early days. So less than a year ago, I had under 2,500 followers on Instagram. Now I think I'm at like 10,500, something like that. And it was because simply I wasn't giving people a reason to follow me. So you guys, if you've watched my social media videos, right? Which hopefully you have. Go to the channel, search social media in the little magnifying glass at the top. In fact, here, I'll bring it up on the screen so that you know how to find these, because I promise you, these will change your approach to how you do social media. So when you go to my YouTube channel, go to the top of the page like you see right there. The little magnifying glass that's there, click on that magnifying glass and just type in social media. Not the search box at the top, because then you get all kind of other people's social media. But now what's going to come up here is these two videos right here. I don't know why number 2 comes up first, but it does. This is the one that you guys really want to watch. Social media for photographers, how to market your photography. That's part 1. That's the important one. Part 2 is good. Part 1 is the important one. So I talk about it in this video. I've talked about it in a lot of other venues. The most important thing is you have got to create value. Give people a reason to follow you. And I wasn't doing that on Instagram. So Jean-Edward, I think in your case, what I would suggest for you, if you got 400 people, that's potentially 400 people that may still like what you do or like the way you do it. So I would start posting your portraits, start posting, your current images, and clearly the important thing with Instagram is not to be random and all over the place. The important thing with Instagram is that you want to have a focus, okay? And it doesn't have to be just portraits, but you want to have kind of a clear focus of what you do. And then what you're going to do, Jean-Edward, as you start to build some momentum, and maybe when you get up to around 1,000 followers or higher, then what you're going to do is you're going to go back to some of your old posts and every so often, not all at once, don't do it all at once, but every so often delete some of the old ones that have very few likes to them. Believe it or not, your average likes per post does help your new posts rank better in how they are seen. So it is worth going back and nuking some of your older posts over time. So I did that. When I finally got serious about Instagram this year and started really pushing it and really posting consistently and all that kind of stuff, I started going back and deleting some, because I had pictures of my grandson, I had pictures of my dogs, I had pictures of food on vacation, I had all that kind of stuff. So I went back, clean that out, get rid of it, keep it focused, make sure that, it's a very clear set of messaging, clear style of images. So I don't think you need to start a new one at all. I think you should build on what you have. And, over time, you'll kind of clean it up, get rid of the old stuff. So let's see. Chaz Madge, what do I stream with? OBS or some other software? So I'm one of those crazy fools that spent the money. I use Wirecast. OBS is great. So for those of you, when we're doing this streaming stuff, just in case you don't know what I'm talking about, when we're doing this streaming stuff, you basically need software to kind of connect you to YouTube. You can actually do it through a web browser, but it doesn't give you the ability to do all the cool graphics that you see down here or any of that stuff. So there's basically 2 options out there. One is called OBS, which is open source, which is great. And the other one is called Wirecast, which is not open source and it's very expensive. It's the best part of $1,000. So it's not cheap at all. OBS, unfortunately, is just a little too clunky. The downside to Wirecast is even Wirecast has its issues, but between the two, yeah, if you're going to do it a lot like I do, Wirecast makes a lot more sense. Keone, good to see you, man. I hope all is well down there. Andrew, you see my YouTube channels. You think they're very helpful. I appreciate it, Andrew. Thank you. Many, many more coming, I promise, okay? Art in the Dark, can you recommend any third-party website to help organize your Instagram account, like knowing who just added you and what the most likes, etc.? Not a website, but actually an app. So Art in the Dark, I use an app, and actually I really like it. It's got a lot of good stuff. So I can't actually get, it won't focus on screen here, but I'll tell you the name. So this is iPhone, right? It's INS Track. So capital INSTRACK. And what this does when I launch it, it's immediately going to go out and it's going to repoll my whole Instagram channel. It's going to come back. It's going to tell me how many likes I have for the whole channel, how many comments. It gives me all the global stats. Those are always nice to see. But then I can go into media ranks, and now I can sort my media by highest engagement, like most comments and likes, what just has the most likes, what has the most comments, etc. And it's going to show me how many likes, how many comments. It shows me the ranking, which is my most popular social, Instagram post ever, that kind of stuff. So they're very, very helpful, really, really helpful, because it stuff like this allows you to get a sense of what's working and what's not, because you kind of see it visually, which they're great. So I highly recommend that. But I haven't found a third-party website yet that does that for me. Okay. Let's see here. Where are we at? Guillaume, would you recommend spending hard cash to promote posts on Instagram or Facebook? No, I honestly wouldn't. If you're selling a product that somebody can like go online and order and have it shipped, that kind of stuff, then I think there's some value to that. I think that if you're trying to get people to hire you for weddings or portraits or that kind of stuff, honestly, I think the best thing that you can do is, there's no quick fix for social media, gang. There's just not. I get so many people like, I want to do what you do and I have a YouTube channel, but like I've only got like 1,000 followers and I can't seem to get past that. And then you look and it's like, well, when's the last time you did a video? And what was the video? And, you go back, they did a video 3 weeks ago. And that video was just them saying, well, yeah, like, here's my favorite lens. And it's really cool. And that's why I like it. So, yeah, that's my favorite. It's like a lens sniffer video, okay? It's like, why should anybody care about that, right? So you can't build a channel that way, right? You've got to provide value. So the bottom line with all social media, gang, if you want it to work for you, throwing money at it is not going to get it to work for you. The way you're going to get it to work for you is to provide value. You've got to interact. Watch that video, gang. I promise you, watch video number 1 of the social media series. You will not feel like you wasted your time. I will give you a money back guarantee if you think that video has no value to you. In fact, what I'll do here is I will put that right here, put the link in the chat for you. Okay. There you go. So there's the link. All right. So let's see. Any good place to get release contracts other than a lawyer? So we're mincing words here, Kyle, but you're crisscrossing 2 terms there, right? Modeling releases are not contracts. Contracts are not modeling releases. So let's be clear. Modeling releases, you can find decent modeling releases online very easily. Just Google it. If you want ones that have been vetted by lawyers, join PPA, Professional Photographers America, or join ASMP, American Society of Media Photographers. You'll have access to all kinds of forms, contracts, modeling releases, property releases, copyright releases, everything that you can download and make use of. They've all been vetted by lawyers. They work really well. Contracts are something, yeah, you should potentially consider, working through a lawyer if it's something. If you feel that you need a contract, it might be, might be worth your while to talk to a lawyer to look through that. So let's see. Derek McDonald, is the 85 millimeter good for full body shots? You've got a 17-40 and a 70-20. Derek, I may have missed it, and I apologize if I did. What kind of camera are we talking about? Are you shooting full frame, APS-C, or are you micro four thirds like me? Give me some feedback here, and I'll tell you. And if it already went by, I really apologize. Dino, you want to see the tat? Oh, I showed it a little bit earlier. Here it is, man. There, it's real. There's the tat. Okay. It's like a day old, so it's still got some healing to do in that. But yeah, man, it's real. So I'm excited about it. Let's see here. I'm going to scroll back up. I saw a couple others. Leon, watermarks on Instagram. Are they right to use? You get hung up on if you should post your best work on there because you're afraid of people stealing your work. So, Leon, right about now, there are people in YouTube land watching this that are ducking under their desks. They're like, oh my God, somebody asked Joe about watermarks. I have been known to have some epic rants about watermarks. So let me just tell you this. I'm not a fan of them, Leon. I find that, and I'm not trying to insult anyone, right? But I'm going to tell you straight, okay? I find that most of the people that worry about watermarks, the real problem is not having their work stolen. The real problem is that their work's not actually worth stealing. Now, I'm not trying to insult you, but I want to point this out to you. Leon, what I want you to do is when we get offline, I want you to think of the 3 most famous photographers. And when I say famous, I mean famous and amazing, right? The most accomplished, most famous photographers that you can think of. Think of those names in your head, and then I want you to go Google them and go to their websites and tell me if they have watermarks or not. Right? So you'll see. No watermarks. Now, every now and then you'll find one, but that's why I said 3, because I guarantee 2 out of the 3 ain't going to have watermarks. They just won't. Statistically, it won't happen, okay? There are so many other ways around that it's really Adam, Olympus Visionary rant. No, we're not going to have an Olympus Visionary rant tonight. Not at all. Yeah, but Leon, trust me, allow people to enjoy and appreciate your work. You know, is there ever going to be some idiot that's gonna, think, hey, this picture's really good and I'm not that good yet, so I'm gonna use it and try and get people to hire me. Yeah, there are, but you know what happens to people like that? Number one, they can't back it up with quality work. That's number one. Number two, there's this thing called Digital Millennium Copyright Act. It's DMCA, okay? Go read about it. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all the social media sites, they adhere to the guidelines in DMCA. So they will take your image down. And all you got to do is file a complaint, and you're good to go. So, Anand, I want to use a watermark so when my picture goes viral, everybody knows it's mine. Yeah, go for it, man. The trick is to have something worth going viral. And I don't mean it as an insult, but let's just put it this way. I've never had a picture go viral. So, could it happen? Sure, but not worth it. So, let's see here. Derek, you're using a Canon 6D. Okay, so... and shucks, guys, help me out. That was the 60. Is that APS-C? I apologize. I should know that, and I don't. Kevin Kassar. Oh, I don't doubt that there's an Olympus visionary who had watermarks, but that Olympus visionary hasn't met me yet. So let's hold out hope, okay? Because I promise you this: if they are a current Olympus visionary, they are a photographer who is probably actually much better and much more creative than I am. So that means they don't need those watermarks. And it's full frame 60. Trevor, I'll come back to that, and I'll get your answer there, Derek. Again, that's why I say, Kevin, that if you do 3 photographers, you'll find 1 out of the 3 that has watermarks. But I promise you, the overwhelming majority of very successful photographers, no watermarks. It's just not going to happen. Thank you guys for the feedback on the 6D. So, Derek, that being said, 85, great lens for full body shots. So is the 7200. Here's the real test if you're talking about full body shots. How much running space do you have, right? If you can only shoot from 10 feet away, none of those lenses are going to be really good, right? If you can back up to 15 feet, maybe 20 feet away, then sure, you could use the 85, you could use the 7200. If it were me, I would choose the 72. So we're talking a full frame camera here, gang. I would use the 70-200 instead of the 85. Now, if you are, a bokeh fanatic, then the 85 1.8 obviously is going to give you a shallower depth of field. I am a big believer in not freaking out about wide open lenses and using all of the tools that control depth of field to get the depth of field that I want. So that being said, the 70-200 gives me a little bit more versatility. So it allows me to zoom, crop a little bit. Also, the 70-200, I can go from a full-length shot to a 3/4 length shot or even a waist-up shot without moving, which is really nice. So if I'm working with a model or a subject and I want to be able to make that crop, I don't have to be running back and forth and doing all that kind of stuff. I'm doing it with the zoom. So, so if I had to choose between those two, and if I'm not stressing about that bokeh, then it's a 70-200. If I'm all about the wide open bokeh, then yeah, the 85 1.8 is going to be your go-to lens there for sure. Okay. So let's see, where are we? And Derek, you've got the 70-200. So yeah, so I mean, honestly, for me, I think you're doing great there, man. I really do. So, Adam, is the photo review show still up next? Adam, I'm not going to lie to you. I've completely lost all track of time tonight with everything that went nuts in the beginning. I have no, so where I'm at, I'm at 1 hour and 18 in this stream. So that's cool. So we got a couple more minutes. I think I'm probably not going to do the Facebook stream tonight, and I will make it up to everybody last night because I am still really irritated with whatever went wrong with YouTube earlier. And so YouTube does provide us with some utilities that we can kind of go in and they're very good at reporting issues and things like that. So I want to make sure that it, by some chance, wasn't me on my end. From everything I could tell, it wasn't. It was on theirs. But I want to troubleshoot a lot to make sure that's squared away. So I'll catch up with Facebook tomorrow night for sure. But we'll definitely get photo reviews in this week. So now I think, here, guys, I think I had 1 or 2 more questions here. So Robert, you don't want Joe reviewing our pics if he's irritated. Yeah, but hey, Robert, I will tell you this because I recognize your name and your face. Your portrait, your self-portrait, Robert, like rocking, man. Like, seriously, good stuff. I will do a review of your picture, but I'll tell you right now, the short answer is don't overthink it. You're headed down a really good path with what you're doing, so keep it up, okay? Mark Brooks had a question. So let me get in these last couple, and if you guys want to throw one or two more in, we'll definitely do them. He's going to create some videos for some online college courses that he teaches. He wants to know if I have any experience with the Interfit LED monolights or the Interfit LED light panels, and do I have any preference between those for video? Okay, so I've made you folks in YouTube land a promise, which I will reiterate that promise tonight because it's very important to me. Yes, being sponsored by Olympus, certainly I am favorable to them. Yes, I'm sponsored by Interfit. I am favorable to them. But any words that I ever share with you folks and any opinions that I ever share with you folks will be my opinions. Okay? I will not accept money to say specific things and offer specific opinions ever. So, Mark, I have never used the Interfit monolights or the Interfit light panels. I will tell you this, though, sincerely. I have not heard the best reviews about them. Okay? So, that being said, if you are going to consider them, my advice to you would be try to visit a camera store, a camera retailer that has them there on display so that you can check them out and try them out. Because all my information is secondhand. But I've heard it from more than one source, and both of those sources have personal experience with the lights. So, I'm just going to be, share that and be completely honest. That's the most that I can tell you. So I think that it would be important for you to get your hands on them, or even potentially, I'm not sure what Interfit's return policy is, but even if you purchase them through Amazon, you've got Amazon's return policies behind you. Get them, check them out, see if they're going to meet your needs. I will tell you, for the kind of stuff that you're talking about doing, for your online courses, and I'm assuming you don't want really, really fancy lighting, but you want nice, easy lighting. I would actually recommend that you look at the Savage Universal, the Edge-Lit Pros. I did a video about them. In fact, here, let me see if I can bring that video up for you. I'll show you. I did a video on them last summer, so it was about a year ago. I really liked these LED panels for the kind of stuff that you're talking about. So let's see here. See if I can find that video, and I'll post it here. Yep, there they are right here. These guys. I would encourage you to take a look at these, Mark. I think that these actually might be very, very well suited for what you're talking about doing and what you're trying to do. So that would be my advice there. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Tiny house, better life. Do I have, or I've mentioned practice and practice. So over the last week, you've been shooting every day. What would I recommend is a good starting amount of time to shoot each day? Tiny house, better life. I don't want to give you a time. I think what is a good time is what can you afford in your life? What time do you have available? How much time can you spend that's fun? Let's face it, gang. Learning is a whole lot more fun if you're having fun and you're enjoying it. So I think, you don't want to kind of turn it into a chore that you've got to practice. When I hear people ask that, I kind of think, I think of, like when you're a kid and, if you have parents that like make you practice the piano or something, you don't really want to do it, but you have to do it every day. Like that worries me a little bit. I think the key is to doing the practice, so bad practice makes bad habits. Good practice makes good habits. So I think the key to how much time you spend practicing is just making sure that it's quality time. Some days it may be 5 minutes. So maybe you're just going to do, something really simple. Okay. Other days you're going to need a little bit more time to accomplish the technique that you're trying to, to work through. So I think that would be my best answer there, which I know it's not a direct answer, but I think honestly that's the best way. So let's see. I saw something else here too. Where are we at? Oh, Derek McDonald. Do I like primes for portraits? For portraits, I pretty much always use primes. In fact, it's the lens it's on here right now. The 45mm f1.2 Pro. Love this lens. It's just the perfect focal length. It's a great size, really easy to handle. I do love the fact that every now and then I can go ahead and I can do the shoot wide open at 1.2, which I don't do a lot, but every now and then it's kind of it's kind of fun to do. But yeah, I like to have that versatility. So, okay. Let's see here. Thomas has got a question that he says is in the groups. All right. So Thomas, let me see if I can find this question for you really quick. And again, I apologize when, everything went south tonight. I lost like all my screens that I had all set up, ready to go. So let me see if I can get that question for you. And we're going to make that the last one for the night here, Thomas. So where's he at here? How do you determine if your flash power is good? You're having a hard time to determine how much light is too much. Wow. Okay. So, I think experimenting is the easy, short answer. But ultimately, Thomas, if you're really struggling with getting your exposure correct with flash, then I think one of the things that would help you out a lot is a flash meter. Consider investing in a flash meter because that's going to get you to the end result that you want faster and quicker with a lot less experimenting. So that would be my advice there. So okay. Let's see. David, I would love someone to look at my photos as mine are not very good, which is why I only upload to Flickr. My setup is Canon. Well, so David, there are some options for you here. What I would recommend that you do, I can't look at them here, during the live stream, but if you visit my website, let me just bring that up on the screen here, and you click on the lectures and websites tab right here, video consultations. I do 1 hour consultations. They're $50, which is very reasonable for an hour. If you want me to review images with you, I will have you upload those images in advance. That way I have them all queued up, ready to go, so we're not wasting that hour. And we'll look through the images. I usually have people put together a full question list so that they can line up their questions, and I can help you that way. Or if they are photographs of people, if you're photographing people, join my Facebook group. In fact, let me get you the link for the Facebook group here, and I'll put that in the chat window. If you join the Facebook group, you can post images in there one at a time, follow the rules, watch the welcome video, but you can post images in the group and have them reviewed also. All right, last question for the night, gang. All right, because we are at that 90-minute mark, which means you guys owe me 180 minutes of practice, right? So the question is, let's see, we're going to do Adam's question here. Images vary, but how much time do you spend typically editing one of your images? So if it is just, shall we say, a straight-up portrait, it's going to be 15 to 20 minutes. And most of that time is going to be doing retouching, like, skin blemishes, maybe some stray hairs, that kind of stuff, right? If it is something that's a little bit more advanced, where maybe I'm compositing in a background or putting a couple images together, it could take as much as 2 to 3 hours, depending on how detailed it is, Adam. But, essentially, a good portrait, so to speak, it's going to be like 20 minutes, okay? And that's on the high end, okay? All right, gang, so listen, once again, I apologize for all the issues in the beginning. Thank all of you so much for being patient and hanging out. And again, thank you for all the super chats, and thank you for the congratulations and good wishes. But sincerely, it is me who needs to be thanking you guys for your support, for taking the time to follow me and learn from me. It's a responsibility that I take with honor, and I promise you, got a lot of really cool stuff coming down the pike for you. And believe me, I am going to take this relationship with Olympus, and I am going to look for every opportunity that I can to be able to bring you guys new access, new information, and simply, honestly, to be able to get out there and meet you guys face to face, which is a lot of fun. So we are just about at that 90-minute mark. We're a minute away. So that's 180 minutes of practice time. You guys know that I love that you watch my videos. I love that you join me for TogChat, but you got to get out. You got to pick up those cameras. You got to use them. So please have a great week. I will be back next week. Also, by the way, you'll notice I'm in the studio instead of in my office. And the reason for that is with this setup, I could do some little demos for you guys also. So we're going to start adding some new stuff. I mentioned all those great visionaries. Go check out the work. They are going to be joining me one by one on TogChat for some interviews in the near future. And gang, as always, please, whatever you do, remember these words.
Thanks for watching another live episode of TogChat. Now, pick up that camera and shoot something, because your best shot is your next shot. So keep learning, keep thinking, and keep shooting. Adios.